I teach you how to make up your face. Today's video is going to be a review slash comparison slash tutorial of a brand new palette that's about to be released. It is the Too Faced Chocolate Bar Bonbons palette, which I have right here. I'm going to go over a couple of things. First, I'm going to talk about the packaging of the product that we are speaking of today. I'm also going to be talking about the shadows inside, quick peek of what's inside, and the pigmentation, the quality of the shadows, and then I'm going to compare this palette to the first and the second chocolate bar palette for you guys to tell you guys whether it's worth it, whether you need it, you know. And then at the very end of the video, I will put in a tutorial of the eye look that I have on right now, which I created using the Bonbons palette. Let's go ahead and talk about the packaging first. Obviously, the first thing you see is that it is pink, it's full of hearts, it's very eye appealing, it's very girly, which, you know, I really like that. In comparison to the other chocolate bar palettes, those ones were brown that looked like chocolate. This one is like pink and cute, and it almost looks like it's sweet. You know, kind of like that. The outer packaging is tin, just like the other two, and it has a magnetic closure, again, just like the other two. This one is the same in terms of width as the semi-sweet chocolate bar palette. The first one, which is the regular chocolate bar palette, does have bulkier packaging, which I'm going to talk about in a second. It's very slim, it's thin, it's great for traveling. However, the magnetic closure, just like the others, is not as strong, so you just got to be careful because, you know, it can plop open without notice, and then, you know, you might break some of your shadows. Also, when you open up the palette, you get a mirror. However, when you sit the palette down, the mirror falls like to this weird 45-degree angle, and it's not really great if you're doing your makeup and you kind of like need the mirror and it's just sitting like this. You might need to like hold it like this while you're doing it, or even hold the palette, which, you know, can get a little bit in the way. Yeah, you know, small things. You'll also notice that on the inside of the palette, all the names are printed on the actual tin, which I think is just awesome, okay? I know it's just the little things in life, but it really helps. These shadows are shaped in hearts. I think that's actually really cute. It's kind of part of the aesthetic. And I will also mention that the palette is 14 eyeshadows in the shape of hearts, and you have 2 of the rectangular eyeshadows, which are larger in size. Now, let's talk about the pigmentation of the shadows. I will tell you right off the bat, the pigmentation is there. They're extremely blendable, they're not chalky and powdery, and there's no fallout. You have a nice array of matte shades, some shimmer shades, which aren't like offensively glittery, and then satiny shades, which you guys will see in the swatches that I will insert here. Sorry, my swatches are a little bit funkadelic because I accidentally swatched my arm a little bit too low, and yeah, I had to like twist my arm in this weird kind of direction just to get the swatches to show. So another thing that is really nice about this is, just like the Vegas Nay palette from Too Faced that I like raved about in my last video, the shades are extremely consistent. So whether the finish is matte or shimmery or satiny, whatever it may be, they're all pigmented, they're all blendable. There's not one shade in this palette that I find is lacking. I also like that there's a nice mixture of like light shades, medium shades, and deep shades. You guys will see this palette is extremely light in comparison to the other ones. This might not show up on a lot of people, just keep that as a, you know, reminder. I also like that the palette has pops of color in it. The other palettes will have pops of color as well, but this one I find has the most pops of color, and that's great because if you have the light eyeshadows, you know, you can't really do that many drastically different looks, so the pops of color are there to kind of help balance that out. I also like that, you know, you can create a ton of different looks with this. You can do the everyday neutral eye, you can do, you know, the eye look that I'm rocking today. It's very medium toned, you know, it's good to wear throughout the day, or if you were going to go out and about, it's also appropriate for that, and you can create really deep looks. However, it is more limited than the other palettes are, so keep that in mind. Now let's go on to the comparison of the 3 palettes. So I'm going to first talk about the first chocolate bar palette. The palette did not have the names written on it. It had this little plasticky sheet that you can place on top of the shadows, almost like to protect them, but I find this really annoying and almost like a hassle to have to carry this thing around, because sometimes I forget it's in there, and then when I pop open the palette, the thing falls out, and it's just, it's a mess. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. You will notice that there are a lot of warm tones in this palette. So as you can see. Very, very warm. I also find that the shades are very natural and very easy for everyday wear. And also, like, you guys can see that the packaging is a lot bulkier than the other two palettes are. I thought that was really nice of them to make the palettes a lot smaller, just because this is so unnecessarily large. It's just so bulky. Like, here, let me compare the two. Like, it's too big. And you also get the tin packaging, magnetic closure, same diff. In this palette, just like the others, you get 14 shadows that are in the small size. Of those 14 shadows, you get 0.03 ounces of product. And then you get 2 of the larger eyeshadows, and those ones are 0.1 ounces of product. The second chocolate bar palette, which is the semi-sweet chocolate bar palette, looks just like this. And as you can see, it's definitely a bit cooler than the first one. However, majority of them are still warm shadows. You know, these ones right here, especially, they're warm. These ones are warm. You know, you get a nice black, which is really nice because that's probably what the first palette was lacking, because that palette is a lot deeper than this one. The same layout, you have the 14 small eyeshadows, and then you have the 2 larger ones. Now, the 14 eyeshadows in this palette are 0.03 ounces, again, just like the other one. This palette, you're actually getting less product in the bigger eyeshadows. The 2 larger ones are 0.07 ounces, whereas the other one was 0.1 ounce per each. Now, like I was mentioning with the names of each shadow, they must have heard our cries, because the second palette has the name of the shadows printed right above the shadow itself. This one has a lot lighter shades, I feel, than the other palette. The other palette, the first one, is just mostly dark, so you can kind of go like medium to dark looks, you can go like smoky look, but of course this one has more neutral everyday eye looks that you can create. Magnetic closure, tin packaging, slimmer. Now, moving on to the third one, let's talk real quick about it. So, based on what you see here, you'll notice that this palette is definitely a lot cooler in tone than the first two. And that's more obvious than the second one was cooler to the first one. A lot of cool tones right here, a lot of cool tones right here, and overall this palette just can create mostly cool toned looks. This one I feel got a lot lighter in tones than the other two. They're just more for like the everyday girl on the go. I don't have much time to really think about my makeup. I'm just gonna slap on a nice pop of color type thing look. This one contains a lot of pops of color in comparison to the other two. This one has, you know, the bright pink, and then it has like the gray, which is, it's weird because it looks blue in the pan, but when I swatched it, it's like gray. It's kind of like how you look at it in the light. It can be gray, it can be blue. And I love the purple, these ones, these cool tones right here. They're very neutral, very light, you know, just kind of for putting it into the crease, just to wear some mascara and then you're good to go. This is for you. This is targeted to you. What's really smart about this palette is because it's mostly light in tones, it's great for you to add your pops of color to balance out your eye looks. Whereas the other ones, I feel like if you were to add a pop of color to like a deeper look, it's almost like it could get lost in like your eyeshadows, whereas this one, it will definitely pop. Talking about the value of this product, you get, again, 14 of the smaller eyeshadows, but these ones are shaped in hearts, which I really appreciate. And you get 2 of the larger shadows right here. The smaller eyeshadows, the heart-shaped ones, you get 0.03 ounces, same as the other palettes. And your larger shadows are 0.07 ounces, just like the semi-sweet one. So you are losing product in comparison to the first palette, okay? Just to let you guys know. So really, this palette, I guess, is identical in size, in shape, in weight as the semi-sweet one, okay? So the semi-sweet one is not the same as the first one. Okay, so you guys can see that there. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys the tutorial of how I got this eye look right here to you guys. I'm gonna insert it right now, and then we'll recap at the very end as to whether or not you should buy this palette or not.
Hey guys, so I received a lot of positive feedback with the recording of the voiceover with no script, so I'm gonna try it again this time and see how it goes. I began by priming my eyelids with the Too Faced Shadow Insurance Primer. And I kind of didn't really have any direction as far as where this tutorial was going. I just kind of wanted to play with the colors and see how blendable they were and just test out the pigmentation of them, and this is what I came up with. I just started dipping my brush into the more lighter medium tone shades just to put something into the crease and help the other shadows blend out a lot easier. And again, no direction as far as this tutorial goes. I'm just playing with color, and I like the way it came out. A tip that, I would recommend is if you bring that shadow up a little too high, almost like too close to the brow bone, is just highlight the brow bone and then blend it out with a nice fluffy brush. I find that this step kind of cleans up the look a little bit, and at the same time it gives me a nice guide to how far up the other shadows can go. Alright guys, we're getting a little bold, we're getting a little brave, and we're going to start deepening up the look a little bit. And I just placed this deep brown shadow onto the whole lid, and I kind of blended it upward. This is a really messy step. You guys don't really have to be precise with it, just to lay down some color and have a nice base for the next step. Also, don't forget to blend in between each step, just so that way the harsh lines don't keep getting harder and harder to blend out. Instead of, quote, blending into the outer crease, unquote, I started actually packing on the shadow with a small, dense brush, and I find that this method is a lot better for applying pigmented shadows to the lid without having as much fallout, and at the same time, I'm also blending it with that small brush. Okay guys, so now we're going to start adding the pop of color, and normally I only add pops of color to the lower lash line, but this time I was feeling a little crazy and I added it onto the center of the lid, packing it on with my finger. I found that this shadow was looking a little bit choppy in between the other shades just because I applied it with my finger, so I wanted to blend it together with this shade. It's kind of like this champagne-y inner corner highlight shade, or you can use it underneath the brow, but I'm using it in the inner corner, and I'm blending it out with this stiffer dome brush. If you guys are sick and tired of hearing me saying to blend out your eyeshadows, then that means I've done my job. I'm good to go. And lastly, bring your eyeshadow look full circle. I actually hate doing this. It really tickles my eye and it makes my eyes really sensitive and watery, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it for you guys. And then I just popped on some black eyeliner, some falsies, mascara, and that is the completed look. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but when I have eyeliner on, I feel like I'm an even sassier person.
Alright guys, welcome back. So let's go ahead and talk about the verdict of this eyeshadow palette. The question that we've all been wanting the answer to is, do we need to purchase this palette? Do we? And you know, it all depends on your perspective of the product. Now, if you own the other two palettes and you really wanted something different, I say yes, it's completely worth it. If you wanted the cool tone shades, this one has it, whereas the other two are lacking in the cool tone area. If you wanted something just, you know, for like the aesthetics, yeah, I would buy it. This thing is freaking cute. They really thought it out as far as the design of the packaging. I do, however, wish that the closure wasn't this weak. I wish it was something a little bit stronger, just so then that way it wouldn't, you know, pop open in my bag or something like that. Let's look at the Vegas Nay palette. As you guys can see, this one is cardboard. I don't feel as bad to drop this thing because I know it's really sturdy, and I feel like the magnetic closure on this is way more strong. Like, you know, I feel like it's not as dainty. I don't have to be as careful with it, whereas this one, you know, I feel like if I drop this, ooh, my life is over. This palette is done for. Pigmentation wise, they are so great. I love all the shadows. They're super blendable, which you guys saw in the tutorial. There are some shadows out there that are, you know, really chalky and they're super hard to blend out. They almost leave this patchy look on your eyes. These ones don't do that. So these are like really good quality shadows. I'm super impressed with this palette. Let's just say I'm super impressed. I would say though, I wish that they added a little bit more darker shades. I feel like my eye look can't get any deeper than it is right now, and I use some pretty dark shades. So I mean, I might have to pull in either the first or the second palette to grab, you know, the darker shades from there, which I guess is not ideal if you want to travel with this palette, but you know, it's great for everyday neutral eye looks that, you know, if you're gonna go to work or if you're gonna go to school and you just want to quickly make yourself up. this is a really great palette for that. I like that the shadows throughout the palette are extremely consistent. You know, the matte shadows and the shimmer shadows, they're all extremely pigmented. They're on the same level. None of them are lacking. I actually think it's a really good product, and I would definitely recommend it to you guys if you were looking for something like this. Alright guys, so that concludes today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed my little in-depth review and the comparison to the other palettes as well as the tutorial. Go ahead and leave some comments down below. Also let me know if you guys want to see any other videos or tutorials or whatever. The holidays are coming up and I'm super excited to start wearing the red lipsticks. Yay! So that's all I have left to say. And if you guys haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment down below, subscribe, and share this video. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!
His heart was a stone.